All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wind Chill Talk, the official, unofficial Minnesota Wind Chill, Minnesota Ultimate podcast. I am Jeff,
I'm Jay.
And I'm Kane.
and tonight we are joined by Abe Coffin. Abe, how's it going?
Great. Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're super pumped to have you on. I think it's going to be a good interview. Got a lot of great questions here. So Abe, normally what we do to start these podcasts is we play a little game called Stall 7. And so basically the point of the game is like little trivia questions and you have 7 seconds to answer the question. So
Okay.
so I got a question to kick it off, and I'll direct this one to you, Abe. So in so obviously we know that in 2022 there was the All-Star game held in Portland. Your question then is, in 2019 there was an All-Star game. Where was the 2019 game held?
Madison.
Nice. Yep, that's right.
He got that immediately. All right.
Yeah, you knew that
Yeah.
one.
All right. I have a question for Jeff. So earlier today, it was announced that Giannis is going to be leaving the Chicago Union. The AUDL shared a statistic with us that was a big shock to me. How many seasons in a row did Giannis make the All AUDL team?
Oh, I think it was
He set a league
3.
record.
We might have, did we lose Kane?
might have-
Lost.
Yeah.
All right, we lost him. All right. Well, if he comes back on, I think it was 3. I don't know if anyone else has that answer, but
I'm pretty sure it's actually 5.
5. Oh, geez.
Yeah. Um, well, Abe, before King gets back on, I got another stall 7 question for you.
All right.
In this last MVP game, you had a very impressive record where you completed every single one of your passes. All of them were completed throws. That 100% completion rate was, how many passes did you throw in that game?
I think it was 32.
Yeah, 32.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's impressive. I don't know if I actually knew that stat. Dang.
I got bailed out by a couple of jump balls that shouldn't have been completed, but they were.
Hey, that's why it's the All-Star game, right?
Yeah.
All
Kane,
right,
welcome
so-
back.
Yeah, had a little bit of technical issues there. Did we answer my trivia question?
I said 3, and I think Jay corrected me, but
Yeah, it's 5 actually.
yeah, okay.
5 years in a row, he made the All AUDL team.
Wow, that's pretty sweet. Any other stall 7s before we get into the interview questions?
No.
All right. All right, Abe. Well, like I said, we're just gonna kind of get to know you. Want to hear more about your season and the All-Star game and all sorts of fun stuff. So, I guess just the start, it's January 2nd. Kind of a fun question to start. Do you have any New Year's resolutions you're gonna try to kick off this year?
It was a little, not really as far as like changing anything that I'm doing. It's more just being more intentional on the things I've kind of done, where it comes to either focusing my time on coaching or ultimate playing, working out. It's been a little bit more focused when I'm doing those things, and giving a little bit more time to those.
Nice. You're pretty involved with, I mean, ultimate in a lot of different facets, right? Like you said, you coach. Do you play for a club team too?
Yeah, I coached the Arkansas women's team, the University of Arkansas, and been doing that for about a year now, and then recently finished up the club season with Chicago Machine, just this past season.
Nice. So if you're coaching in Arkansas, playing professional in Minnesota, and club in Chicago, where are you permanently located where you can make it to all those? That seems like quite a lot of traveling you have to do.
Yeah, I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas, so I'm able to be local for the college team, and then the seasons are kind of split up now to where college kind of ends right as a lot of ADL games are picking up. It's kind of overlapping on like preseason mini camps. So there's a couple like regular season college tournaments that I might have to miss for wind chill practices that I have to travel up to. But then with kind of how this past season, where club was a little bit later in the year, we kind of worked it out to where I could make a couple things after the AADL season ended
Right.
for club.
That's awesome. Sounds like a full year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every weekend, I guess, at least during the summer, but even for club season too, do you commute like every weekend for every game for Minnesota, or?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically weekends are traveling, and there could be times where it's maybe 6 weekends in a row that I'm either out of town or for games or practices and whatnot.
Unlike those commutes, are you driving? Do you fly? How do you get around?
It's mostly flights. I did a couple of road trips I think I did one road trip for wind chill, but everything else was flying.
Okay, so when you're not playing or coaching Ultimate or anything like that, what's like on a bye weekend, if you're kind of rarely not commuting, what are you doing?
I mostly the biggest thing is mostly catching up on house chores, but I mean, I kind of just take time to either like get everything ready for the week, or I really enjoy cooking, so I kind of just like do mostly anything I can to make something new that I'm not able to do on weekends where I'm traveling for Ultimate.
Nice.
What do you cook for the team ever?
No, I haven't yet.
What would you cook if you cooked for the team? What's like your go-to?
I mean, it would be something more baked goods. So it'd be either something bread related, maybe just a regular whole wheat bread that has a overnight starter. Nothing complicated.
Nice. I'd like to see a Minnesota wind chill bake sale.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
you said,
go ahead. Go ahead.
You learned down in Arkansas, it's warmer there than it is here. So you been ever in Minnesota in the winter, and how do you feel about Minnesota winters?
I don't particularly like it being cold, so that's a huge negative of Minnesota winters. But I've been used to them. So my family, or on my mom's side, is from there, and so my family would travel up there during Thanksgiving and Christmas. Almost every year when I was growing up, and I mean, we just kind of got used to winters up there. But it's definitely a shock getting off flights to below freezing temperatures when you're coming from Arkansas, and today was 70 degrees.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That up here, man. That's
yeah. I guess I'd like to shift a little bit to the 2022 wind chill season, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So generally, you have been more of an offensive aligned player, right? Is
Mhm.
that pretty fair?
Yeah.
So as you were mostly used as defense with the wind chill, what was that? What was that shift like? Did you have to kind of learn the game in a different way, or did you kind of approach it similarly, or what was it like playing for the D line?
I usually approached it a little bit more loosely, like so I could take a little bit riskier shots because offenses don't really want to play defense on a turn, and so when we would get turnovers or blocks, that was kind of where I was on offense. I would intentionally play a little bit more conservatively, while defensively it's more as far as defense on the offensive side, can play a little bit more loose and turnovers are kind of okay. I think I just had to watch more. I had to watch more offenses film studies than actual defensive film studies was the biggest change, which wasn't hard. It was just figuring out which matchups I had to look at, kind of what structure of the offense they had to run, kind of, and so on.
About the switch changing your play style, was that fun for you? Like, did you have more fun on D line this year, or do you think you want to see yourself back in more of an O line position in the 2023 season?
I mean, I had fun regardless of where I was kind of filled in. I mean, I had fun on D line, but I think I would have had as much fun on O line. So I think I'm going to leave that to the coaches to
For sure.
figure out where they need to put me in order for the team to succeed.
Yeah.
So, you're on defense. You're doing fantastic things for Minnesota on defense. I was checking out your player profile not too long ago, and it says that you're only 5'8". Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, probably just a little bit over 5'8", but not. I'm short.
Yeah, I mean, watching you play, some of your jumps, some of your plays, I don't know. It doesn't
can't
feel like
tell.
you're 5'8". Yeah.
You definitely have a 6'2" presence on the field. I'll
Yeah.
say.
That's very kind.
But just talk about that. How do you feel against some of your matchups against some of these taller players? Because Chicago has a taller team, New York has a taller team. Like, there are some pretty big guys out there, and especially on defense. How do you feel about some of those matchups, and does it ever change the way you play?
I'd say that actually the really only tallest matchup I really had was Keegan North of Indy. Because trying to think of like who else would be, I mean, 6 feet or above, because Pavel wasn't. Kyle Rutledge, I might be 6 feet, probably not. Yeah, I didn't really have to have too many matchups where I was guarding somebody that was just 4 or 5 inches taller than me. It was really handlers for the most part, and then yeah, Keegan was definitely the taller guy, but they all kind of play pretty similar to being around the disc instead of downfield and having to focus on either skying each other or make a play in the air.
Interesting. It's a little thing you don't even think about that much.
Yeah.
I'm under the impression that the taller you are in any sport, the more likely you are to succeed. And just so, I mean, when I found out that you're the same height as I am, because we're all short guys on this podcast. None of us are above 5'9" on a good day. So to hear like the success you've been having in a competitive league where you see the all stars like Ben Yacht, who's taller than I'll even dream of being. So it's cool to see
Yeah.
that there can be success in this sport where you don't have to be 6'2" and above.
Yeah, I think slowly it's pushing to some of the 6'1", 6'2" hybrid guys, but yeah, I think there's still definitely a spot for small, quick handlers.
Sure.
Abe, so you came up from the Dallas Legion after a couple of years of playing with them, and then you played against them with the Wind Chill in 2022. What was that like, kind of returning to your old team to play against them?
Well, I never did actually play Dallas Legion. I played for the Roughnecks, but it's basically very similar. Yeah, there some ownership was still the same, and then some of the players were still the same. So it was a little fun to get to see all of them and play against them instead of being on the same sideline as them. Get heard a little chirping from them from time to time throughout the game, which was fine. But I mean, overall, it was a good experience, and I mean, I think it would have been tougher if we lost that game because we kind of struggled and made it closer than I think we really wanted it to be.
For sure. So since coming to the Central Division, you're obviously facing a whole new host of teams than you were in the South Division. Are there any matchups that you really enjoy, like team-wise or player-wise, that you are excited to go up against in the coming season?
Well, Pavel's gone, so he was fun to match up against. Not really sure. I haven't seen like a ton of signings yet for the 2023 season. So I really can't. I just really don't know yet of like who I'd be excited to play against. I mean, always Chicago and Indy are, as of right now, still the two that are the biggest contenders in the division in my mind. So those two teams are the ones we need to are the most exciting in my viewpoint.
That makes sense. What about, I will kind of go into the All-Star game a little bit more, but when you got sent to the All-Star game, was there anyone you were like particularly excited to share the field with, either on the same team or playing against, that maybe you haven't before or got to reunite with, I guess?
I was excited to play with a lot of the East guys, like Yacht and Marquez and Ryan. They're all super talented from New York. I mean, it was just all of those East guys were good. It was just gotten a lot of fun to play with them.
Yeah, they have just been stacked. And then you got to play against them at the halftime game, right? At the
Yep.
at Vikings. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
We asked Will Brandt, he was on a couple weeks ago, but I guess I want to hear from you what you thought it was like playing in front of that kind of crowd.
I mean, personally for me, felt like a kid out there because it was in front of 60,000 people that all root for the Vikings, and I'm a huge Vikings fan, so it's just like, this is awesome.
Nice. Well, we don't have to bring up the tough loss against the Packers. Then we can keep that under wraps. Yeah.
Sure.
We're still number one in the NFC, okay? NFC North. I'm gonna correct myself before everyone DMs us and says that we're not number
Yeah.
one. We know we're not.
Abe, what was like your favorite moment of 2022 in Ultimate? And it can be wind chill related or otherwise.
Um, ooh, I haven't really thought about that. I mean, it was mostly just doing a lot of new, or just taking a lot of new opportunities. I had kind of been playing for Roughnecks and in AEDL, and then double wide in the USA Ultimate Club Division, and jumped to two totally different teams, and that was, I mean, it was kind of a big risk, or just a risk on my part, because I had so many friendships with Roughnecks and double wide guys that, like, it was just a tough decision to make. And I think I enjoyed every minute of all of the decisions I had to make to play Minnesota Wind Chill and Chicago Machine.
I'll say, as kind of, we're all fans of the wind chill, and it's been so much fun kind of seeing you like change the game at least a little bit. Like we kind of said, like an offensive player coming to defense and just making these big plays. And I feel like there's just a different energy on the team and in the stands. And I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I think part of it has been, your talents and the chemistry, and even coming up with Sam Ward and just this different kind of chemistry. What's I guess my question then is, what brought you to the wind chill for 2023? They just kind of announced that you're coming back to the roster. Was there anything in particular that swayed you back to sign again?
So I think a little bit was kind of, we didn't finish what our goal was, which was to try to be at championship weekend and then ultimately win a championship. And then I kind of have my own rule of trying to not be a one and done player with kind of any team I play for. The only time I've really done that was back in 2016 with Madison Radicals. And I want to keep that going. And so I really enjoyed my time on the wind chill. So I wanted to do it again for another year.
Nice. That's a good answer. I guess I kind of want to hear more about the All-Star game. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, what was a generic question? What was it like?
It was pretty fast paced. Like we were kind of just alternating lines because we only had like 15 per team. So after one line got either scored or got scored on, the other line was just running right out onto the field, and that could have been either a minute or 10 seconds as far as how the pace of the game went. I think everyone was kind of still trying to figure out the rules early on, but once everyone kind of started figuring out especially the 2-pointer, it just kind of got a little bit out of control. So it was fun until there was a point where we kind of knew what the goal of the 2-pointer was and just kept on repeating it over and over.
It was a high scoring game, wasn't it? What, 42-24 or something like that?
Yeah.
It was some crazy numbers. I don't think I've ever seen an ultimate game with that many points. And like you mentioned the 2 point rule. Do you think
Yeah.
that in the future there has a viable chance of being added to like the AUDL as a whole? And more of a personal question, do you want it to be added as a rule?
I'd say probably no to both of those, and the way it was structured for that game. It just it made it just kind of too easy with just the personnel you have, and I think it's just going to show how good teams are if you allow them to have that rule throughout an entire game.
I heard somebody describe basically it's just like the rich getting richer. Like it's
Yeah.
for teams who are going to win, you don't need the 2 point rule.
Yeah, you really don't.
So what about the other rules? I guess what did you like basically any of those rule changes? Do you see the future for any of them?
I think stall 5 needs to be seen in an actual game with true defense, because it didn't really come into huge effect, because I mean we just weren't really playing that much defense. The moving up the pool, I think can work. Maybe not all the way up to the brick line, but I think moving it up just helps defenses pin teams back instead of teams really getting kind of a head start with a lot of the pulls. Usually it's like 10 to 20 yards of free space, especially if it's going upwind. You're really only going to just either at most 10 yards past that field. Let's see. The half court rule was probably the one I liked the most because it gave each team an ability to set a wrinkle of new defensive strategy. It helps defenses kind of pin people to a corner or just play a different way to where offenses just can't move all the way all across the field just to eat a clock. I think that's kind of where they were wanting to go with that.
So the pull rule, to bring up the pull to the brick line, I think that's super interesting, especially within the context of this podcast. You see where we're going with this. Everybody knows Abe Coffin for his pulls. And actually Tucker Hoffman was on the pod a couple weeks ago, and he described that rule as an equalizer in kind of a bad way, though. Basically, like that's a specialty. Like that's like special teams in football. Do you agree, or like do you think that rule is too much of an equalizer?
I agree in some sense, but I think a lot of teams feel terribly. And you can look at you can just look at some game clips of how teams feel kind of poor, in my view. And I think moving it up, if you have to have some form of control, because you're just going to throw it way out the back if you're still throwing with the same power. So it can make it somewhat of an equalizer, but I don't think it's going to be as much factor in the overall game play.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's a kind of a big part of the game is the poll. So I think that's a pretty big shift in a rule, I think. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do with that one.
Yeah. You can get to a point where teams are really just blading the disc as much as possible. But
Yeah.
that then they'll change it to something else if that's the case. Because then it's just going to be a bunch of rollers.
Right. Yeah. So at the All-Star game, you were named the MVP of the game. What did that mean to you? Did it mean anything in kind of a more of a fun game, or what was that like?
I mean, it was cool to be recognized for it, but I thought there were a couple other guys like Shepard or Mott where get it. But I guess the 32 for 32 was the big kicker.
Hard to argue with that, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, again, if everyone's an all-star, everyone probably is gonna put up numbers like that. So you got to pick someone at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah, but overall it was cool to get that award and honestly represent Winchell with that for that.
That was sweet. Did you get a trophy with that?
Yeah, I did.
Where's the trophy? Is it hanging up?
It's in our room.
Nice.
Still need to get it engraved. They bought it like that weekend or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the whole story of how they came about that trophy.
So is that going to go on like the mantle, or what's happening with that one?
It's just I don't know yet because I need to still figure out what I'd like to do with a couple of other medals and stuff like that.
Let's win the championship weekend, and then he can figure out where to put all his hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll get you a customized display case with everything.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, so you were saying that some of these other guys that you played with, you thought that some of them deserved that MVP as well. Which clearly, you're a very humble guy, but you ever feel like when you're out there with these guys that it's just this sort of experience for you? Do you ever feel like, I don't know, if you ever doubt yourself, you ever feel like, oh, these guys are better than I am, or do you just keep that cool? Do you still feel like, I'm that guy?
I mean, when I'm on the field, I'm trying to be the best player that I can be. So yeah, I don't really care if how people are. In that All-Star game, I don't really. I know how everybody's playing, but I'm trying to be the best player that I can be when I'm stepping onto that field.
Awesome.
So here's a good segue to become the best player you can be. What do you do like before games or even in the off season now? I feel like it's kind of been you kind of mentioned it's been a busy off season for AUDL for you, and like have you been training? Have you been kind of just resting these last few weeks? What do you do to
Yeah,
get ready?
I do game point performance for all my training and workout regimen. Been doing that for the past 5 years now. And it's basically after USA Ultimate Club Nationals, I took a week off and then I was back into lifting and lifting a couple times per week and then doing a bunch of other cardio intervals or tempo training. And then I tried to not play Ultimate specifically for at least a month or so. I haven't been mostly getting back to a couple of fundamentals, my throwing regimen, where it's working on just either form critiques or it's just stuff I need to work on from just the past season, whether it be working on rounds or hooks or just regular throws. And it's been about it for so far. As it kind of at least this month, I'll start getting back into a couple of pickup games around here, playing in a winter league here in Arkansas, and getting a little bit more gameplay where it's leading up to when we have tryouts in early February, and then straight into mini games.
So very busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah.
Wait, I
I know
got
we
a
can-
quick question.
Go for it.
I know Ken's asking a question. He's got one next, but so do you signed with the wind chill? Do you still have to go to tryouts, or are you choosing to still go to tryouts, or how does that work?
I'm skipping the open tryout and then going to the invite tryout.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know. That's more of a Feldman decision. I don't really
Yeah,
have too much of a say in that.
I didn't know how that worked. I guess I had to ask.
Yeah. So with the off season, obviously, you're doing a lot of work. You're putting a lot of work in for Ultimate. Other than baking, I kind of want to know, so what do you do for fun? Like, what do you do to relax at the end of the day? Because it's like if I was working your schedule, I would be beat. How do you unwind?
It's a lot of yoga. Kind of that was another thing I kind of was getting back into, was a lot of mobility work is where I kind of unwind, and then I enjoy coffee. I walk my dog every once in a while, but it's mostly just hanging out at home is how I unwind. It's not really nothing too much outside of Ultimate that I'm really doing.
Yeah. All right. I know the viewers at home are gonna kick us if we don't ask you this question. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a 4-year-old Shiba Inu mix with Australian cattle dog. So it's a very, very wiry, energetic dog that needs a lot of exercise.
Does your dog play frisbee?
Yeah, I mean, not like she'll catch a frisbee. It's got to be. She's only 26 pounds, so it's got to be
Oh.
it's got to be. The frisbee's got to be like under a 2 feet level to where she'll be able to catch it, because she just doesn't want to jump. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day that Airbud comes out, but for Ultimate. So before a game, then, is there anything in particular that you do to prep, or mentally or physically or anything? How do you get ready for a game?
Leading up to it, I'll usually kind of watch some film if I kind of already know my matchup, which we usually got later in the week towards the closer to the game, and then it's mostly just relaxing, because I usually will, if it's a home game, we'll fly up to the night before, if it's a Saturday game, and then just hang out at one of the houses I'm usually at, and then kind of just making sure we're well rested before going to get warmed up and get into our game mode.
Nice. So part of the goal of this project that we're doing, Windshield Talk is what we're calling it, is to grow the sport. Whether it's, getting more players, people playing the game or people in the stands or whatever. So I guess, is there anything that you'd want to like tell fans or people who are interested in sports, like just about Ultimate or Windshield games, or, what would you want fans or listeners to know about the game?
It's not the one with the chains.
Yeah.
Would be the first thing. I think it's just it's a paced game that I think everybody can follow easily. And it has exciting plays. There's not really that much else to it. It's just it's fast paced and easy to watch.
Yeah, for sure. For our listeners, our viewers, you heard it here. Ultimate's so fun. And Abe has been it's been so great watching him on the field. If you haven't seen a Windshield game, definitely encourage you guys to come out and watch. It's kind of the best of football, basketball, and soccer, plus with its own unique elements. So I definitely hope we can get some more people in the stands this year, more people even playing the game around the community. Guys, do you have any other questions for Abe?
No?
Questions?
This
It was,
has been great.
Yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you to Abe for joining the interview today. Anyone who's listening, if you're looking for other places where you can get some more Windshield content, whether it be podcast articles or social media posts, anything like that, you can follow all of our social medias at Windshield Talk, and our website is just windshieldtalk.com. We'll see you guys over there.
Yeah, Abe, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been great, and definitely hope we can get you on soon again, talk about your 2023 performances.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome.
pleasure.
Stay chilly.